If you're sick of hearing me talk about Dark Souls 3, friends, you've come to the wrong place. However, as a little bit of a reprieve, this episode I will not be sensually milking the huge, thorny penis of Dark Souls 3 into my hungry, hungry little throat so that it deposits its creamy load and fills my belly all up nice. No! Instead... God, that was a horrible image. Instead, we're going to talk about cheating and how From Software and Namco Bandai's handling of it and their talk of taking candy from strangers is a pretty shitty thing. What did you think of the new credits, by the way? I like them. Justin did good work, I think. People like to cheat. People like Dark Souls. People like to cheat in Dark Souls. Now, these people are scum and should be put in the jail forever, where they will smack cups against the bars of their cell and play the harmonica a lot, but sadly, we do not live in a just and fair society where such malingering grub people are treated as deserved. Instead, they get to roam free, and the fine folks at From Software and Namco Bandai try to deal with them. Except when they don't deal with them at all, and instead deal with people who didn't do anything wrong. Dark Souls 3 on PC has a problem, and that problem is cheaters turning innocent bystanders into dirty criminals. A number of players have been banned from the game's online functions recently, receiving messages informing them they've been penalised for invalid game data. This data typically involves things like hacked items, where players have managed to level weapons far in excess of what the game allows, and they can include various mods and cheats that upset game balance and give players unfair advantages. In most cases, Dark Souls 3 soft bans its cheaters, allowing them to play online but only against other underhanded ne'er-do-wells, but there are confused innocents who don't know why they've been banned alongside the filth. Namco Bandai, for its part, acknowledged that some users may have been unfairly banned, but infuriatingly has no fix for the issue as of yet. They continue to look into it, but they've effectively broken a big part of the game experience for a lot of people who may not have ever deserved it. Even reinstalling the game won't fix it, according to the publisher. So, how are these virginal lambs getting flagged? Well, according to Kotaku, it's not a new issue and goes back to a problem that plagued Dark Souls 2. Like in DS2, Dark Souls 3 players can trade items by dropping them on the ground and letting their co-op partners pick them up. It's a good way to offload excess gear and can give players access to potentially rare stuff. Unfortunately, items that have been fiddled with in ways that go against DS3's terms of service can also get dropped, and if a player picks one of those hacked items up, their own game gets potentially flagged for invalid game data. Essentially, shitweevils can enter your game and infect it with corrupt items, causing Namco Bandai to punish you for the crime of trust. In a rather churlish customer support response, the publisher placed the blame squarely on the targets of the infection, referring to the picking up of items as, and I quote, taking candy from strangers. The publisher advises backing up data to cloud servers in order to reverse any unwanted data changes and otherwise not trading items with players at all. It's an insulting insinuation. Trades are part of Dark Souls 3, and players have always been encouraged by the game's own philosophy to take whatever help they can get. To then be told that you're doing it wrong by trusting a game feature is a total dodge of culpability. Even if you don't take candy, you can still get fucked over. One player reported getting invaded by a pair of cheaters. One was invincible, the other had infinite Estus flasks, and they got banned afterwards as a result of the hackers' data poisoning the game. Despite reporting the cum serpents, the invaded player was swept up in the cull and hasn't been able to play online since. So what of these cloud backups that Namco Bandai advises players utilise? Well, Dark Souls 3 itself doesn't have cloud saves. No. Instead, you'll need to constantly save your data on a USB drive or sign up for a third-party cloud storage service in order to keep your game safe. And that's simply fucking ludicrous. It's absolute nonsense that a player would have to take such steps that nobody will ever get warned of in-game, in order to secure hours upon hours of challenging progress that could otherwise get ruined through no fault of their own. It's a big ask for players, it's inconvenient, and it's not publicised enough to reach everybody. It's not even wallpapering over a crack. It's dumping a roll of wallpaper on the floor next to it and walking away to take a big shit in the kitchen. And the dumbest thing about all this? The game on PC is still fucking crammed with cheaters. I mean, how are people still getting infected? Because infectors are still running around infecting people. These bans are not only claiming the wrong people, they're letting plenty of the right people off the fucking hook to continue trashing the game with their unkillable builds. So it is that players on PC are going to have to protect themselves from cheaters and the wrath of the game's overseers failures even if they've done fuck all wrong, jumping through hoops that should be part of the game itself if they're such crucial fucking requirements to keeping data safe. Or what, otherwise play the game offline and miss out on a huge part of what makes Dark Souls Dark Souls? Quit every time you get invaded and risk being punished for quitting every time you get invaded? There's no decent fix for players, only inconvenience and liability. I love Dark Souls 3, as if you couldn't tell already. It's become one of my favourite games ever, and I'm still obsessively playing it despite beating it several times. But fuck playing that thing on PC now. Those risks aren't worth it. I'd actually rather take the baby's frame rate of 30 FPS on PS4 than suffer a game infested with snivelling cheaters undermining the entire game experience. Not to mention an incompetent punishment system that could see me banned without recourse or the chance of reprieve. This shit needs fixing, and it oughtn't be on the player's shoulders to create their own insufficient solutions. This is on From Software and Namco Bandai, who haven't been able to adequately fix their cheating problem for fucking years, and are now blaming the injured parties rather than their own incompetence. It's clear these bans haven't even begun to fix the issue, and have only swept up the faultless alongside a respectively insufficient number of guilty parties. And as for those guilty parties, just a quick fuck you from you to me. I've been fortunate enough, to my knowledge, to have never encountered a cheater in a Dark Souls game, but that makes the idea no less scummy to me. People who modify an online game to gain an unfair advantage have always struck me as a particularly pathetic individuals, and it baffles me how any of these dire foreskin people could ever gain satisfaction from doing so. Such people are spineless little pube mounds, and I find their presence especially detestable in Dark Souls. If you are one such cheater, I only hope your fingernails and teeth fall out like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. It is no less than you deserve, you brundle fly fucks. Before we go, it would be remiss of me not to talk about the Content ID changes that YouTube announced last week. They've made a step. Not a huge leap as far as I'm concerned, they've made a step. Basically what they're doing now is when a video is flagged by Content ID, the money will not automatically go to the claimant, because, well, that was basically theft. Instead, the money will be held by YouTube and then given to whoever wins the claim. You know, if the video maker disputes the claim and the company doesn't uphold it, then the money goes to the YouTuber. Now, that's nice, should have been there from the beginning. Doesn't stop the fact that claimants still have ultimate say in whether a dispute works or not. Doesn't stop abusive takedowns from happening. Doesn't stop the fact that Content ID is shite. Doesn't do anything to stop the ridiculousness highlighted last week with the copyright deadlock. So it is a small step. And I do believe that YouTube does want to do what's best for content creators, for as long as it doesn't piss off the people with the money. It very much is a case of we're on your side until we're not on your side. So yeah, I'm a little bit cynical. I don't think this is huge news, especially because the last time they did something huge in favour of content creators, nothing really happened because of it. We talked about the Fair Use Protection Programme, and that was before that Cool Cat shit happened with I Hate Everything, and Channel Awesome had to do the Where's the Fair Use thing. That all happened after the Fair Use Protection Programme, so colour me cynical, but I'm not that excited about the Content ID changes just yet, or any of the other proposed improvements that YouTube says is on the way. Until then, we will, I guess, just wait and see, but I have a feeling that things like Where's the Fair Use, which is Channel Awesome's movement, and other protests against the ridiculousness that is the copyright wars on YouTube will continue for quite some time. There will always be a use for the rallying cries, and in amongst all that, the true blood, the real heart of the world, of the nation, will always be saying, thank God for me.